Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Invincible Season 2, Episode 5 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references. We're getting so close to the Invincible War. There's also a bunch of stuff going on with the Viltrumite War storyline in the background, too, with Alan the Alien, Omni-Man, and what just happened with Battle Beast breaking out of that Viltrumite prison. Cannot wait for everything and everyone that is coming before the end of the season. So we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. The episode was titled, "This Was Supposed to Be Easy," a reference to Invincible number 53, where Invincible stops Titan from attempting to break Multipole out of prison, which he angrily then says, "This was supposed to be easy." It winds up being another really big Titan episode, and a lot of the beats mirror some of the big twists of the last big Titan episode in Season 1, when Invincible almost got killed by Battle Beast, who we also just saw on the series. The actual episode starts on Titan's character. He's based on Luke Cage in Tombstone in the Marvel Comics, but he's also voiced by Mahershala Ali. Big coincidence, because he was also Cottonmouth on Luke Cage, and they're just bringing all those characters back in the Marvel Universe through Daredevil Born Again now, like all those Marvel Netflix characters. Seems like Mahershala Ali is going to be a whole bunch of other superhero characters before he actually does make that Blade movie at Marvel. We are going to be breaking down the 100th season of Invincible before Marvel actually releases that new Blade movie.
There's only been one Blade. There's only ever going to be one Blade.
Since the last time we saw him, Titan had taken over Machine Head's empire and used that new wealth and power to help his family, his daughter. It generally just makes the town a much better place, but he's still a mob boss, like he's still a crime lord, so he's still technically kind of doing shady stuff, but he is genuinely trying to make the area better, and he is a big upgrade from Machine Head. All of his daughter's talk of dinosaurs also reminded me of the Season 2 episode we just saw Invincible get thrown into that universe full of evolved dinosaurs on a version of Earth that had learned how to speak. Then we go to the GDA prison to watch Multipole try to pull off one of the most hardcore prison break attempts you've ever seen, basically killing himself over and over again, many times over, to try and create so much pressure that it just bursts the door, which also sets up the twist later in the episode where he does a smaller version of that to break out of the collar. Duplicate talked about this phenomenon in previous seasons. The whole idea is that yes, they can make unlimited copies of themselves, but one of the twists is that they feel everything that happens to their duplicates. Like if they get hurt, they feel it. If they die, they feel it as if they were dying too. It's kind of hard to imagine how that would affect someone's psyche, feeling the pain of dying over and over and over again. Imagine what kind of psychopath you'd have to be in order to be able to weather that and just continue on. You also probably detected the voice actor is Simu Liu from the Shang-Chi in the Marvel movies, so there's a couple Marvel actors that are appearing during this season. One of the other ironic twists, too, is that Simu Liu, also from the Marvel Universe, just like Mahershala Ali from the Shang-Chi movies, also having problems with his next big movie, too, because originally the director who did the first Shang-Chi movie, great movie, can't wait to see the sequel eventually, was actually working on Shang-Chi 2, but then Marvel hired him for Spider-Man 4, so they wanted to fast-track that movie, like they're way more important to them. We want to make a Spider-Man movie before we want to make Shang-Chi 2. That wound up causing them to delay Shang-Chi 2 for who knows how long. Like it's going to be several years before that movie comes out, probably closer to like 10 years after the first movie came out. Like it'd be crazy. You kind of feel bad for some of these Marvel actors. You kind of see why they're doing all these superhero projects all over the place. Gonna go be a superhero in the Invincible universe for a little while because my superhero in the Marvel universe isn't gonna come back for a little while. His escape attempt does not wind up working. He gets taken out, which Duplicate then visits him, making fun of him for, like, you did all that, you killed yourself this many times, and it didn't even work, and I was getting ready to get you out to begin with, which now isn't gonna happen, and you're gonna get even more time on your sentence. She's basically trying to get him to come to the good side, use his powers for good, which he does not want to, mostly because he's still bitter about what happened to them as children with their family in general being broken. But also it sounds like he thinks that he can't leave the Order or he'll be killed, like he's forced to stay in the Order. But even though they're kind of on opposite sides of this whole war, superheroes and supervillains, they still feel like a genuine family, like they still care about each other. They start talking about their father and have a brief flashback to explain what happened to him. Basically, the idea is that they got their powers through a curse on their family. In the 7th generation, supposedly as part of the curse, wound up being them. But the whole idea is that raising kids with those types of powers basically drove him mad. So technically, their father went mad and got taken to an asylum because of them. But at least the way Multipol makes it sound, he feels like his father abandoned them, and that's why he's so pissed off at him. They explain they were then taken in by the authorities and trained to be weapons, which he also is still very bitter about, escaping when they were much younger, and she just continued to say Duplicate stayed and continued to train with them. Back at Mark's, they clown on Mark and Eve's relationship, with Oliver and his mother already knowing everything that happened, like we set a place for you because we kind of expected you to show up. Generally, they use most of these scenes to just show you how natural their relationship seems. Like, it just seems right. Like, they just belong together. They are each other's endgame, basically. Also, because the way their powers work, they're both functionally immortal, so they can continue living together and any potential children that they might have someday. So basically, they just want to show you a lot of their just like casual relationship scenes, making it feel like they belong together. There are a couple jokes about the practical issues with her using her powers to build an apartment, like, well, there's zoning laws, like we gotta do things by the book, so there's all these different rules about how you can actually do stuff like this. Which basically winds up culminating at the end of the episode when they hit a big pause button on moving out together. Also, because they want to slow roll the development of their relationship, there's a lot of important stuff that happens between their characters throughout the entire comic book run, and because they're expanding the show with a whole bunch of material that was not in the comics, because the runtime of episodes is way longer, they just have to slow down on some of the story arcs, and it sounds like their relationship is one of them. They also use their money problems to pay off the whole twist with him creating Invincible Inc., the private security firm, and using that to make money, which is also a thing in the comics. They use that for the title treatment this week with Eve at the prison in the business suit basically selling their services to the government in the prison. This time all the different colored logos end on the blue and yellow one like his original costume, the original logo, but all these are meant to be Invincible War references with the different evil versions of Mark in the different types of suits that they wear. Titan then butts heads with Mr. Liu like he did previously, who threatens his daughter's life. In the prison, hiring a superhero that he references means Eve was successful in selling Invincible in her services. He is the new guard dog. Mr. Liu is basically reminding Titan that if he doesn't fall in line, they'll kill him and replace him with someone who will do what the Order wants them to do. But also setting up Titan's long-term plan to get rid of Mr. Liu so he can basically get rid of the problem. Kind of the same way that he got rid of the Machine Head problem in Season 1, by becoming the boss himself, this time with a bit of a twist, using Machine Head to basically get what he always wanted this whole time, becoming head of the Order, but also forming a bit of a truce between the two of them. So it winds up being a big callback to that original Machine Head and Titan episode. Oliver takes off in the middle of the night to try and make friends who are other kids successfully, and just winds up being a good example of how well things are going with them trying to raise him to be a normal kid with good values, the same way that Invincible grew up, just being a normal kid. Basically a speedrun version of what happened with Mark, like the whole reason why Mark is unique in the multiverse, the only version of Invincible who did not turn evil, is because of the positive influence of his mother and the way he was raised. Now they're basically trying to do the same thing with Oliver, and for the most part now, it's been successful. It winds up being a big win for them because he does not absolutely waste the bullies. Then they continue developing Shrinking Ray and Rex's relationship. I think we all knew where this was headed. It was just a question of when they would actually get together for like when they would actually start doing it. They're not quite there because they also use this whole sequence to basically show you the redemption of Rex and how he's becoming more and more of an actual person and less of a dirtbag. We find out that Shrieking Ray is a big fan of reality television in the Invincible universe. It just seems like their universe's version of The Bachelor. You see this on a lot of other TV shows where like characters will watch reality shows. It'll just wind up being Bachelor parodies. Love that he messed up the little envelope invitation here the first try, then just crossed out the name, and it looks like a little kid wrote it and then drew the picture. Like, did a 5-year-old draw this? Because it's amazing if a 5-year-old did it. Maybe they'll start selling these as official merch at conventions. But it's meant to be a dinner invitation, paying off the conversation that they had earlier before they had to bail on making an actual real dinner to take down the villain. The other joke being cooking took so long for him to figure out that it's midnight now, but she's already into him, so like she doesn't care, she's just having fun hanging out. We know where this is going, but the other funny thing here too is this almost felt like an in-universe commercial for a meal service kit. Usually the way you can tell if it's an actual integration where like a brand pays a TV show or a movie money to use their logo or hype up their product or whatever it is inside the movie or TV show, if you actually see the logo itself. If you don't see a logo, they probably didn't pay any money and it's not an actual commercial. Rex then reveals that he stole an old bottle of wine from the immortal who has many, many old bottles of wine because he is immortal. 1762, the date on the bottle here, was the end of the 7 Years' War that ended in America and during the period of the American Revolution, generally, so the immortal was obviously a very big part of all those events. That particular war was between the Native Americans, the British, and the French, and it resulted in the French giving up all claims to the United States, or what became the United States. At the time, it was still America with the 13 colonies, and Great Britain basically wound up getting a whole bunch of extra real estate that eventually then turned into the United States through the American Revolutionary War. 1762 is a little bit earlier in that timeline. The actual Revolutionary War with Great Britain and the 13 colonies didn't happen until like a little bit later. Then you wind up having the Declaration of Independence, which I think also they were using this scene for a callback to, because the Immortal probably helped write that, and it was a really big reference during the future timeline episode where Invincible killed the future version of Immortal after the Declaration of Independence didn't work on him. They wind up paying it off, though, when they find out that the wine has gone bad a long time ago, which actually is a real thing. If you ever try to collect wine, if you wind up owning wine for a long enough time, like a very long period of time, then eventually all wine will go bad if it's not stored correctly, even if it's in a sealed bottle. So just because somebody gives you a bottle of wine that's like 150 or 200 years old doesn't automatically mean that it's going to taste amazing. It could have gone bad. He also says that he used to steal wine bottles from Immortal all the time, and he never did anything about it. But I think the joke here is that Immortal probably realized what was going on and just let him do it. But I love the way they seed Immortal's backstory and his history, like all the things that he's done over his very, very long lifespan, just into the background of the show with common Easter eggs like this. At the prison, the guard is reading a Seance Dog comic. He's a Doctor Strange parody. Titan goes to talk to Machine Head, and they basically come up with the plan that they pay off at the end of the episode to get rid of Mr. Liu and use Invincible to do the dirty work. He mentions Mr. Liu's dragon form to set up the later battle in the episode. We'll explain that in a second, but he mentions Battle Beast, calling him his giant space cat, referencing the events of that Season 1 episode where he nearly did kill Invincible. Titan then tries to get Invincible's help the legit way the first time, like he asks for his help outright, like, look, we need to get rid of this Mr. Liu person because the order is way worse than what I'm going to be doing in the city here. Which he obviously winds up declining, but he does quit with Titan about getting payback for almost getting killed by Battle Beast. They do another callback joke to Season 1 where he carries him mid-flight, talking it out, explaining why he needs his help. Their whole conversation here with Titan trying to win him over to the less bad side, like there's bad and then there's really bad, so he's trying to win him over to the side of the less bad people, is all about Invincible's morality being tested, which is a big, big arc in Season 3. The whole idea that he's trying to wrestle with being a good person or being the guy that saves the world, which is another big callback to Cecil's quote, proving that Cecil is right. Mark is going to have to do some messed up stuff if he wants to save the world. Also a bit of a foreshadowing for what's going to happen with Invincible War eventually, then with Conquest, with the other Viltrumites like Thragg. Like, we're just at the beginning now. There's still so much stuff that he's going to have to do to actually save the world ultimately. Titan also managing to pull a fast one on him with all the hoodies is a way to show you how smart Titan is, also how far Invincible has to go before he can face a lot of these threats. Like, he's not completely invincible, as a lot of his comments in Season 1 would imply. Then the whole betrayal by Isotope to Mr. Liu was just meant to be a feint on their part. Isotope was in on this the whole time. It was all part of their master plan to make it seem like he was being betrayed and that Machine Head was trying to take over. But really, they were using it for a big twist so that Machine Head could be the one to actually kill Mr. Liu's body when he was in dragon form. When you see him start making that incantation too, what he's doing is he's actually summoning the dragon itself that's bound to his body. The whole idea is that Mr. Liu is ancient, and the reason why he has metal body parts is to help keep himself alive because of the nature of his powers and what's happening with the dragon spirit bound to his body. Many, many years ago in China, Mr. Liu's land was destroyed by a dragon and his family was killed. The dragon was from another reality, another dimension. You could think of this like the Shang-Chi movie too, where the dragons came from that other reality. Technically, his character is meant to be more of a Fing Fang Foom Marvel reference. But when the dragon originally attacked, sorcerers from various kingdoms found a way to stop it by binding it to a human subject, and he just volunteered for that because he had nothing left to lose. But part of the problem is that as he grew older, his body started to slowly degenerate. He started to use cybernetic parts to keep himself alive, to keep the dragon trapped. But when he wants, he can actually summon the dragon and use its power. So when he says that he's more powerful than Invincible because his powers are not based on this reality, unlike his Viltrumite powers, it's because literally the dragon is from a completely alternate reality. Most of this big fight with him is also to show you all the different powers and abilities the dragon has compared to other heroes on Earth, just way outclassing them in terms of strength, speed, durability. He cracks Titan's exoskeleton with his teeth, and he's unable to punch through the dragon's skin with his enhanced strength. He goes to break Multipole out himself. This is also right out of the comics too, this whole fight scene. Invincible and Adam Eve use this as their first big fight together on the new team, joking that they can charge double now that there are two of them trying to save the prison. Notice how Mr. Liu just wastes all the other prisoners as collateral damage. He only cares about Multipole because he's so valuable to him as an assassin. Paul winds up pulling the same trick again, creating a bunch of duplicates, killing a bunch of versions of himself to break the collar. RIP to all the versions of himself that died in this episode. And it felt like Adam Eve here was basically pulling a Loki Season 2 Miss Minutes trick on him, trapping him in the box and then shrinking the box down. She's not quite as psychotic as Miss Minutes, so she didn't keep shrinking the box down until she killed him. But the other big twist here too is that his original was not the one inside the box, so he wound up escaping ultimately. Then we see Mr. Liu's dragon teeth are strong enough to penetrate Invincible's skin, who jokes about being more powerful, like I said, because his powers are not based on this dimension. We see Isotope teleporting Machine Head out. That's what Adam Eve is not seeing in the cell, like she's seeing the aftermath of the teleport so that he can wind up killing Mr. Liu's physical body. We also see that the dragon regenerates Wolverine and Deadpool healing factor style, so it is almost nigh unkillable. Omni-Man also fought him during Season 1, and he's still alive, so that should give you a good example of that, like if Omni-Man fought him and was not able to kill him. In the way they play this big twist here, where Machine Head winds up killing his physical body and trying to kill his assistant by just dropping him from a big height with Isotope's powers, winds up paying off at the end of the episode, where basically the assistant winds up bringing him back to life using the spirit of the dragon. But the whole idea here is really more about what Titan and Machine Head are doing to get rid of Mr. Liu. So if you're thinking about the next step from this, Mr. Liu would really be out for revenge against Titan and Machine Head, not against Invincible and Eve. If you're just talking about his fight with Invincible, he just seemed more bemused by that, like he didn't hate Invincible. Titan helps him and then reveals that this was all part of their plan for the fight to go down this way with all the different twists, and he was trying to do him a solid by saving his life because Machine Head wanted to let the dragon eat him before they killed his original physical body. You could also look at this fight as a good example of how far Mark has to go before he's strong enough to face what's coming eventually. You have the Invincible War that's right around the corner with all the other versions of Mark coming. You have people like Conquest, eventually people like Thragg. There's just like so many threats that are so much worse than what he just faced, so he has to get stronger and stronger and stronger if he's going to stop them. But essentially the payoff in this episode is meant to be similar to the twist in that last Titan episode in Season 1 where he used Invincible, or they used Invincible in this case, to get what they wanted. Eve then clarifies she used her powers to rebuild the prison, comes in handy, collateral damage. Everybody's always wondering about that after big superhero movies. They had paused on getting the apartment together, mostly because they're just not ready for that, story-wise, if you're talking about comic book storyline progression. When he talks to his mother, notice she's also holding his old Seance dog toy that he saved from the dumpster bin at college. Like, I could never get rid of you, Seance dog. I'm not going to throw you away. Then they end that whole story arc with the reveal that Machine Head is now running the Order like he always wanted to do as part of the agreement that he made with Titan, allowing Titan to essentially walk away with the city. We get a brief tutorial on the rest of the characters in the Order, but not a whole lot of speaking lines from them. The Embrace character here seems like more of a magic-based Cersei reference. Slaying Mantis seems like a parody of Praying Mantis at DC. Set is also a magic-based villain. He seems like a parody of like the Egyptian gods or like Seth in the Marvel universe. There are versions of the Egyptian pantheon in both the Marvel and DC universe because you can't copyright things like Egyptian mythology. Then we see the aftermath of Multipol escaping, leaving Duplicate the message that he did escape. In the stinger end credit scene is that Mr. Liu is resurrected by his bodyguard, who also survived, none the worse for wear, with like a little arm in a sling, using the spirit of the dragon to transfer from his body back to Mr. Liu, who is definitely going to want some revenge on Machine Head and Titan when he comes back. But overall, it was a genuinely chill episode if you're considering Invincible War that we know is going to be happening in the back half of the season, and everything with the Viltrumite War arc with Alan the Alien, Omni-Man, and what happens with Thetis. We will see if they check back in with that storyline in next week's episode, probably at least once before the end of the season. We will see how fast they move on that. One of the other big things you have to remember is that Omni-Man doesn't know about Thetis. He doesn't even know that he exists because he came of age after Thetis had already left the planet after their big Viltrumite civil war. Thetis was a core part of that actual civil war, then left to form the coalition of planets, but in secret, like he hid the fact that he was a Viltrumite for all these many centuries that he was doing that. Omni-Man didn't come of age in the Viltrumite military and start going around conquering planets till long after Thetis had left. One of the other big things that's coming up is going to be Powerplex, big character from the comics, played by Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. He's a really cool, but also a really tragic character, but if you think about it, who in the comic did not have a tragic arc? My episode 6 video will post next week after they release it, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. I'm mostly expecting them to actually spin up into the Invincible War, just because there are only a couple episodes left, and they're probably going to use a couple episodes for the actual Invincible War because it's such a really big deal in the comics. My early theory right now is that Conquest is going to be a big part of the final episode just based on all the different titles, and the fact that he does show up after the Invincible War in the comics. Real question is how big a part of that final episode. Is it going to be like the very end of the finale, or will it be most of the finale? Cannot wait for him to show up. Like, there's going to be so much stuff happening in the next couple of episodes. Like, it's just going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. And that's just the beginning. Season to season, generally, like however many seasons the show winds up going, you do have escalation in the comics. So it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. In the Marvel Universe, also a big reminder too, we're going to get Daredevil Born Again episodes really soon, so we will have Invincible episodes and Daredevil episodes going at the same time for a little while. It will be peak for a couple weeks. Everybody click here for my new Daredevil Born Again trailer videos, and click here for all my Invincible episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.